Episode 62 of the Thunder Underground podcast is here. My name is Trent, and I'm joined by Jason.
What's going on?
Not much. If this is your first time listening, we call ourselves a hard rock and heavy metal podcast. And if you look at the name on this week's episode, you'll wonder, well, why do you have Ian Moore on here? Well, because we've said all along, if we have the opportunity to talk to someone from a different genre of music that we love, we will do it.
That's right. And I think that, being Tulsa and what, the history that Ian has had with Tulsa and how long we've been fans. I mean, just like you said, if there's a chance, if there's an opportunity to take it, to talk to him, we're going to take it for sure.
Yeah. We're lucky enough to talk to him and the rest of the band, the Lossy Coils, recently when they played in Tulsa. And we've got that coming up here in a bit. But we're just going to talk a little bit here about Ian Moore, I think, for a minute. And let you know, I mean, if you aren't into hard and heavy stuff, I mean, we've had people on like Shooter Jennings. We've had Lenny Lashley, who's in Darkbuster and Street Dogs. We've had Jason Gilardi, who was in the 90s rock band Caroline Spine. Mike Ariza, who's in the Frank Hannon band, which is more straight-ahead rock.
Yeah.
Delacoma, Murder FM. These are kind of, middle-of-the-road rock bands.
There you go, yeah.
Europe. Ian Hogland from Europe. Everybody loves the Final Countdown, right? Check all this stuff out, and if you like the heavier stuff, we've got all that too. It's thethunderunderground.com. You can get all our social medias on there. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope. And of course, here on SoundCloud.com /Thunder-Underground is where everything is hosted. Well, like we said, the guest is Ian Moore. Like you said, we've been fans since the beginning of at least his first album. I mean, obviously he was doing stuff before that, but his first album came out in '93.
I think so, and we were, just right away enamored with it.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma was kind of one of the first spots besides Austin that really latched on to his music, and I know there's other areas of the country that did, as far as that first album with Harlem and Satisfied and Blue Sky and the radio songs. And at that time we were 15, 16, 17 years old during this period. And we were just enamored with, like we've talked about before, hard rock, thrash metal, heavy metal, glam rock, all that stuff. But, we always loved the classic rock stuff too.
Yeah.
And the straight ahead rock and roll. And then here comes this guy, that's just more blues based, but it's like hard rock and blues. So really, I'd always liked blues, but I just never got into it. And this was something that we could really latch onto, I think, because it fit in with the other classic rock stuff we dug and everything.
I agree totally. Like you said, it fit in with with a lot of that stuff, and for me it was refreshing because at that time, 92, 93, when grunge was coming in and alternative was coming in real heavy, and a lot of the stuff we liked kind of went by the wayside. A lot of the metal, a lot of the melodic, the hair metal that we were into kind of took a back seat, and it was harder to come by that stuff. And I know for me, what I did at that era, I just didn't want any of this alternative. I didn't want any of the, I liked some of the grunge, but all this alternative stuff was just not my thing. So I looked at my favorite bands and I said, let's go and see what all these guys dug. And that's where we got our, our classic rock, our learnings from. And, I remember that one of the first times I heard about Ian Moore was when he was opening up for Leonard Skinner. And I think,
that's right. I forgot about
one of those packages back then. And, so that's kind of where where he came onto my radar. And then, from there, it just opened up a whole world of, and especially like you said, Oklahoma, especially around here at Tulsa, loving their blues as much as they do, totally just, took to this guy like crazy. Took to Ian Moore like you wouldn't believe. And, I bought into it. I fell in love with it. Like you said, it was a little bit more amplified, a little bit more, hard rock. And I think that, that was just something new for us. And that's just kind of where it started. And, now, I mean, you look at his career now and he's done so much stuff. He's branched out. He's evolved. He's done everything really that a musician should do. He stayed true to himself. And I think, he might have lost some fans along the way, but I know he gained a lot. And, I'm proud that no matter what he does, it's going to be great. And I'll always be a fan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's obviously something we had to bring up, is that he's changed a lot, with every album, but it's always been exceptional.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The quality of the music, everything from that first album to the Lossy Coils album.
Yeah.
And everything in between. And I think I've said this a million times to you, I know, and I even brought it up in an interview, but And All the Colors is my favorite album of his by far.
Yeah.
There's just something about it that I think it's kind of because it still had the elements of those first couple albums, but it's kind of, I think, the bridge to what he became and what he is now.
Yeah,
where it's,
I see that. Yeah, definitely.
It started. There was, he even mentions it in here where he says, the second modern day folklore was a movement from that first album.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it still had the radio hits with Muddy Jesus and Society, so people were still latching onto it. But by the time today,
people love that song. It's a great song.
By the time And All the Colors came out, it was starting to shift a little bit more, and that whole album is just. I mean, every one of his albums is fantastic, but that thing just, Roller Coaster and Float Away and Johnny Cash and his Electric Bible, everything.
Room 229.
Yeah. It's just a phenomenal masterpiece of an album, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, going back to the beginning, like all that, like with him and Chris Duarte and Kenny Wayne Shepherd, there was like this little movement, I think, era where there was like, where these blues guys that were a little more, like we said, they amped up, and they fit in more with the classic rock crowd that had that moment where they were getting radio play. And, Ian Moore's done a great job of becoming true to what he probably always wanted to be, which is where he's at now.
Yeah.
And like you said, even if that means losing fans, big deal, because, you got to do what's true to yourself and what's right.
Exactly. You got to be able to go sleep at night.
Yeah. And that, I'm drawing a blank. What's the name of the Lossy Coils album?
El Sonido Nuevo.
Okay, yeah. And that's, that's totally different than his debut album. And
yeah.
But it's just a great, great rock and roll album.
It's such a great record. I mean, it's got hook and melody, and it's just sensible. It's got nothing that it doesn't need. I mean, it's got great playing. It's got great guitar. I mean, that record is just, I mean, I can't speak enough about how crazy good that record is.
Yeah, and he's always been, we know he's a phenomenal guitarist, and he's a phenomenal writer as well.
Yeah.
That's always been evident from day one.
Yeah.
And even obviously as a vocalist too. And what I mean, just think on that first album, his biggest hit probably is Satisfied.
Yeah.
And it's still one of those songs, when you think of an artist and what their most recognizable song is, usually you're just kind of like, skip or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you're like, you get to the show, and if you're a geek like us and you love everything, you really want to hear everything else.
Yeah.
But for me, that song's so phenomenal that I still want to hear it every time.
Yeah.
And here's a story for you too.
Okay.
Side story. Many years ago, a woman told me, I'm not going to say who, just because I'm not going to. A woman told me that if you're trying to seduce a woman and you need a little help, just put on Satisfied by Ian Moore.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work, then you don't need to be with the woman anyway.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, that's a great point. I like that.
Wow, is that all I've had to do all these years? Just put that song on?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now you know.
I've been missing out.
Now you know.
I've been missing out. Well, I think, for me, I think my favorite Ian Moore records, I loved Ian Moore's Got the Green Grass.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a lot of songs on it. He had there's different sounds, they'd play bottles and tubas and they do different stuff. They do cool covers. There's great guitar playing on it. It was so different than the first two albums. And I've said this before with bands, it just pissed everyone off. And even in his liner notes, he explains how this is a change and how he fought to get this record out and how, just what he went through to stay true to what he does. And I admired the fuck out of that, and it made me love that album so much. It made me love that album so much more. I remember friends of ours just being like, "What the fuck is this? This is bullshit." And I thought, that's why I love it. That's why, because these people can't handle it. And I got it, and I thought it was great. And it's what musicians should really do. And so that album always holds a special place for me. I love Luminaria. It's a little bit more laid back.
Yeah.
But I think it's very lush, and it really brings up a lot of visions for me. It's really colorful. And so I think those two albums are really, I think my favorites, and, but it's all great. But, if we're talking about just our favorite Ian Moore moments, those two records, for me, really hit it home.
And another thing to bring up is, we've seen him tons of times throughout the last 23 years now.
Oh, man, I can't even...
Yeah. But when you think about it, you think about those shows that you've seen.
Yeah.
Just think of a few random ones. It's like every one stands out completely different from the other one.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you could think of some bands you've seen 10 or 15 times, and they kind of run together.
Yeah.
But Ian Moore, it's like, you've got the acoustic performances, and then you've got the full band performances. But even those full band performances, like you've got those early ones at the Canes.
Yeah.
Then you've got, like when we saw him in Austin, outside at that, I don't remember what venue it was. And then I remember you said you saw him on was it like at the top of some building downtown in Austin?
Yeah, there was some, we had just gotten off if my memory serves me correct, I was pretty lit because we drank on the plane. I'm not going to fucking lie, but we went down for South by Southwest, and I think it was the time where you were coming the next day or later that night or something. And we had these passes. He was playing some room at the top of some hotel, and there's all these people just sitting on the floor. And that was probably, for me, my sketchiest one, memory wise. Not gonna lie, but I do remember it. But you're right as far as everything's unique. I remember seeing him at I don't even know what it's called now. I think it was just called Boston's, or it used to be Steamrollers or something.
Oh yeah.
I forgot what it was called there for a while. He would literally, in his acoustic performances, and we talk about this in the interview, he would literally walk through the crowd and he would stand at your table for a few bars and sing to you or whatever. And I think that was that's super special, and it's super personal, and I think people will remember that, and that's something cool. And I think
it's like Buddy Guy, right?
Yeah, it really is. I know that he played the little side room at Canes a few years ago.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
And
that was great.
That was probably, that was a phenomenal set. It will be, I won't forget that one for quite a while. And I think that was just before or just after Sonido Nuevo came out. And he played all those songs, and they were so good live. And it's, this guy has just a vast catalog, and, he has so many voices and so many styles. You'd be doing yourself a disservice not to check this out if you haven't really, gotten into Ian Moore. You really should check it out.
Yeah, and he does a great job of mixing up the set list. I mean, he's always
Yes.
been that way. It's like you never know what you're going to get, you know.
Yeah.
Which is what you want from an artist you love, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, like we said, we had the opportunity to sit down with them before their show at the Shrine a couple weeks ago, and all 4 members of the Lossy Coils, very cool, and talk about, like we said, all kinds of stuff, whether it be his sound or some live shows or what they've got planned here in the future.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're doing all kinds of stuff. Like I saw on his website, he does a songwriting workshop. I don't know if that was just last year, if he does it every year.
Yeah.
It's like a retreat type thing.
Yeah, I mean that
you go down and you hang out for like 3 days, and they do a couple performances, and then you get up and perform and write songs with Ian Moore. I mean,
that's crazy. I mean, if you're an active, you know, player, I mean that would be such a benefit, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we're ready to get into this, or you got anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I feel like there's. Oh yeah, the "I'm a Ram" song.
Oh right.
Yeah, that's I think his newest thing that he's got going on. It's an Al Green cover. That song is fucking great, and the guitar solo. I mean, that song's awesome.
Yeah, it's on SoundCloud, so just search Ian Moore on SoundCloud.com, and then when you're done listening to that, search Thunder Underground on SoundCloud.com and listen to some of these 61 other podcasts that we've had before this one.
That's right.
Let's get into this interview with Ian Moore and the Lossy Coils right now.
From NWA.
Oh, really?
The dude that wouldn't fucking do the NWA reunion because he hates Dre so much.
Yeah.
You would think he'd want the money.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They better not put a
Good on
fluorescent light back here.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Well, this is the last night of tour, right?
Yeah.
It is.
So what's the plans from here?
We're gonna. Well, we're barely home. We're so busy. He's going to do some other stuff, but we're all playing again another 2 weeks in California,
Okay.
and then we're starting a tour right after that. Another tour.
Okay.
So we're just off for a little while, and I got a Woody Guthrie thing. I mean, I got just enough time to wash my clothes, basically.
What Woody Guthrie thing is it you're doing?
I'm curating this. It's a celebration of his month of. He basically went up to Washington State and spent a month and wrote 26 songs, a lot of his best tunes, and so we're doing a big celebration at the Symphony Hall up there.
You guys are doing it at Benaroya?
Yep.
Badass. That
Yeah.
theater's killer.
Well, I just saw that thing where you said you were selected to the governor's board or for the Grammys
Yeah.
in Pacific Northwest
I
chapter.
don't really know what it means yet. We'll see. I'll report back.
You get a scepter,
Yeah, I hope I do. A cape and a scepter.
a sash.
I think what it is, basically you're involved. You do pick, you have the ability to do a lot of different events and theoretically, help out with Grammy's just a lot of charity stuff. And also, working, mentoring younger musicians, and then helping to nominate. You can nominate stuff and folks for the Grammys.
So you do have a say in who gets nominated,
I
or at least
guess.
put your 2 cents in or whatever.
Theoretically,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I don't really understand what I'm really going to be doing yet, but it's a really cool. The people that I'm working with are people I want to hang out with. So it's
Can you
gonna be
nominate
cool.
yourself? I nominate me.
I've never had a Grammy. Damn it! I want one.
Can you retroactively nominate,
Exactly.
or whatever the right word is, people that should have got nominated?
Yeah, I know the Grammys are real weird. Like there's major oversights. And
Yeah.
then some people win like 8 Grammys that are.
They're going to have to do a separate Grammys next year for all the people who passed away this year.
Yeah, no kid, Jesus.
That's gonna be heavy.
The in memory of will be like 2 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they'll have to start it early.
It's still April. No, it's May officially.
Yep.
Yeah,
May 1.
Mayday.
May.
Yep. So I saw you guys put out "I'm a Ram" earlier this year,
Yep.
and you gonna continue putting out new music, or because I know it's been a while since you guys had a full album?
Well, we have a bunch of records that are ready to come out. We just started waiting for the proper formation of the way they're going to come out. So that's taken a while. But yeah, we got another song. Those tunes are all from a soul record. So the next one's a song called Didn't I, which is a cover of a Durando. It's a soul singer from the Bay Area. Cover that, and that's going to come out. Probably going to release that right before the New York tour.
Okay. So you're just putting out the single, or you're saying you're going to put out a full album at some point? Or just...
Well, they're not. Those aren't even really singles. We're putting them out because they're cool, and we have a record that's ready to go.
Oh, okay.
Just to kind of get people in the kind of because the record's kind of in that vibe. It's kind of more of like it's got kind of a soul rhythmic bass, and so it kind of sets up the people's heads for what's coming down the pipe.
Well, how do you guys like balance out your set with old stuff, new stuff, and do you got all you guys like get a kind of a say in it?
They get a say.
Yeah.
They don't say a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mostly write. I don't even like writing the set list, but then again, when I don't write a set list, I never like anyone else's set list. So I guess.
That's where I was going with this. I've written it a couple times.
Well, the
but
tricky thing is that I know. There's a real fine line. I've been in my shoes forever, so I know like the dynamic of what will work and what won't work. And I've played enough sets that didn't work, where that was a great set, but people just didn't dig it. It was too unknown. So typically what we do is we come out with whatever new we're doing. We'll always do something new right off the bat, because my attitude is that as long as it's cool and you're excited, you can get some new stuff across. If you get too far into the set and then pull a bunch of new material out, you lose the momentum. So my attitude is that even if people don't dig the front of the set, we start kind of getting much more in the stuff they know and real intense, hit songs, real songs that are crowd favorites, and we kind of just try to balance it that way.
Is it different every night, or?
It has been. I mean,
Yeah. There's some staples, right? For sure, but yeah, the rotation switches up a little bit.
When Travis is also the newest member of the band, so it's been a little tighter because he's been in the band. So this next tour, we were just talking about it yesterday. We got a bunch of other songs. We're going to go deeper where we can alternate. What we normally do on the road is we have like kind of a template, and then we fill different tunes in. Like we'll try like a couple of different hit songs from the first record. Like we'll play Harlem one night, we'll play How Does It Feel the next. And then we'll do, we got songs we play every night, like Blue Sky, we play pretty much every night. And then we got a bunch of new, we're
barely
playing.
done El Sonido this tour at all. We've just done Secondhand Store, right? And that's it.
Yeah. Which is weird. So that's an interesting dynamic. Now, because the set's funkier, a lot of the El Sonido stuff doesn't work as well.
Yeah, it doesn't
It's
really
super
hold
weird.
up.
Even though it's a killer record.
Yeah.
We love it,
Yeah, I wore that thing out.
Yeah.
I don't mean to fanboy out on you, but I wore
That was
that
a
thing
fun
out.
record to make.
Yeah.
We had a blast doing that one.
Yeah.
Well, I was curious because I saw you guys played shows with like Cheap Trick and Three Doors Down and stuff. Do you change the set to fit that crowd?
We did for the Three Doors
Well,
Down.
oh my God, yeah, we went for
Man,
we went hard on that one.
we tried to play the heaviest songs we had, and I still felt like old men having tea. every other band was just screaming the whole time, and we went out there, and it was just hilarious. I mean, I just felt like, and we played our heaviest songs we had, but it still felt like we were just like.
Both of those shows, we only had 40-minute sets, so
Three Doors Down, I think it was 20.
we had 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Cheap Trick was bitching though. We did our normal set for that. It was just shorter and a little bit more rock oriented. I mean, but we played a ton of new songs because they're kick ass on a big stage, man.
sound great.
You Got to Know and Lords of the Levee are rule on an arena size stage. Those are new.
Yeah. Well, did you get a weird reaction from that Three Doors Down crowd, or was that a festival or anything?
It was a festival.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they liked us. I mean, I got a big following in Lubbock, so even all the old metalheads there, they see me. A lot of those who see me play 10 times, so they're I didn't feel it was just more like we were just so different from every other band,
Yeah.
We were like rock light
Yeah.
compared to everybody else. A lot of 5-string and 6-string basses.
A lot of screaming.
A lot of screaming.
A lot of
Screaming
like really those heavy, that kind of like new metal
Drop
D,
yeah.
drop
Tune
tuning
down,
stuff.
Drop C.
Yep.
Well, have you ever considered playing an album in its entirety? Because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'd drive a long ways to hearing all the colors in its entirety.
Oh wow.
I know that would probably never happen. But.
Well, no, it would totally happen. It would be, it takes. Yeah, I mean, if there was a space where I felt like it would be successful and do it, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do different records in their entirety.
But it's not something you've ever done, right? Yeah.
I probably have, but not. I don't know if
not
I've ever
over.
done it where I advertised it like, oh, I'm doing this record. But I've done records cover to cover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen like your acoustic sets, and where did it come about to walk out into the crowd and just like sing to people like one-on-one?
That happened in Phoenix, man. I had a sold out show at the Rhythm Room where we played a bunch with the band now, and people were, I have a big following in Phoenix, so I get out on stage and I start playing, and man, it sucks so bad. Even though it's sold out and they're all fans, they're all talking. I think because they were used to the rock set and they didn't know how to adjust the quieter set. And I was about to have a nervous breakdown. I was just losing my mind trying to figure it out. And there was this table right in front of me, and they were looking at me, and they were so cool. And I started just focusing on them because they were the only people that I didn't want to kill in the crowd. So finally, I was just like, you know what? Fuck everybody else. I'm going to go play to this one table. I'm going to sit down at their table and I'm going to play for them. And I sit down at the table and I start playing songs. And within 10 seconds of sitting down, the whole place shuts up. Because they're like, well, what's going on over there? And so, I started doing that. And the other thing that's interesting about, especially with the acoustics, I mean, the rock and roll set's a different vibe. But, when you pull the people in, when you do something where you look somebody in the eye and you play to them for a second, their whole experience of the night changes. It's like when everybody warms up, and I just have noticed that sometimes when I sit on stage, there's this distance, and then people don't feel as connected to the show. And so when I come out in the crowd, everybody feels like they're part of the show, and they're more open, and then the show does better.
Yeah, I remember seeing you once over here across the street. You did that, and you told some people to shut up because they were talking, even though you were walking around. I thought that was
While I was
a
walking
nice
around,
touch. Yeah.
singing, and then shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Jeff Tweedy.
Yeah.
Oh man, when I first started doing the acoustic sets, I actually had a couple of full-on fights. Like, it was pretty intense for a while. Took a while.
But you guys do that sometimes. Sometimes people just don't get it.
Well, sometimes people really are disrespectful on purpose too, and that's a whole different vibe.
Just for the attention.
Yeah, just to see if they
Like
can.
that guy at the Blank Slate that night we played here.
Sometimes people just want to rabble rouse. I mean, my crowds are so cool now. I haven't had really any negativity in a long time. I just feel like even the people that didn't dig the acoustic set, it took a while. They came around to it. So now the funny thing is everybody got all used to that, and now we're like full on rock and roll. I had all these ladies last night going, when are you bringing the acoustic band back? And I'm like, man, you guys are like, whatever I do, they're always like 3 years behind, That's,
Well, you guys have been coming to Tulsa for a while. Talk about, and it seems to be one of you guys' like a hot spot kind of, if you don't mind me saying so. Like, talk about what Tulsa's meant, and like what you think about it when you come here.
Well, I'll just preface it, and then I'll let Matt talk, because he came into my world and he was playing on the West Coast more. And I mean, he did national tour, but he hadn't done the region the way I had. And you're integrated and we're all friends.
I love it here. Yeah, I love playing shows here, and we've got a lot of great friends. But that first show we did at the Blank Slate is the one I remember, because not only was that guy wanting to fight you, but there was a flash flood and it went 1.5 foot up in water in the club. Wow. And every time we've been here, we've had some kind of crazy, weird, funky, fun, trippy experience.
Yeah.
Mark, all of those, just some great people here. The town's really changed, too, in the 8-9 years that we've been coming here, too. It's really starting to pop.
Yeah. Well, it's a big, for a long time, I was yelling to the skies about how hip Tulsa was. Because, you know, even though I'm not like a roots rock dude, I have my base in roots musics. And so people are always talking about authentic music, especially living up in Seattle and Portland, always talking about, you know, oh, the real. And I'm like, you know what, man, Tulsa's the real. And I've said it for years and years and years. And finally, all these Tulsa cats are starting to catch on. Like the Tulsa guys are starting to do pretty well, especially in Europe. And like we saw Jesse Aycock last night in Kansas City, and we'll probably all end up in Colony with Paul tonight and jamming, which is, you know,
Brian Horton and all those
yeah. They got a good scene here, man. It's pretty, you know, people take shit for granted when they live in a town. They just assume it's like that everywhere, and it's not. Austin doesn't have that right now. Austin has a great scene, but it doesn't have the solidarity that Tulsa has.
I think, and I think a lot of that has to do with Brian Horton. I mean, he's really the biggest cheerleader around here for all these great musicians who probably, you know, have a tough time talking about themselves, you know.
Yeah.
I also think that this is always the last show we do of tours.
I know, it's funny.
It's so when we get here,
It's like
we're like, yes!
Yeah, we're done.
And we give it like 2 million% more just because we know it's a celebration. It's a celebration, exactly.
We're in Tulsa. We're gonna hang out at the Colony. We're gonna play a killer show. Go to the Colony.
Got
you know.
Cuban cigars.
I got some mini Cohibas. Got to keep that on the DL, you know, because they were purchased legally, but entered the United States in a rather illegal fashion.
Blocking your bum.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, man, that's a relative term. Special
In my luggage.
circumstances.
You get the strong cigarette tonight.
Yes.
Well, you guys mentioned Jam at the Colony. Is that something? Is there a place like that in other cities where you always hit as well, or is that just kind of a here? in Austin?
What's the place in Houston?
Continental in Austin.
I mean, there's kind of. I mean, there's places where not really. When I was first coming up, there were places like that everywhere, you know. And there's just, you know, people jamming. This generation that's coming up, kids, there's not that scene right now. There's not. I mean, I'm not saying it's nowhere, but it's a cultural thing, and that culture is kind of dying out.
Yeah.
And in Tulsa, because Tulsa's kind of like Austin, where there's a big group of younger people that also are connected to this older culture. So they're keyed into like the J.J. Cale scene and that trip. So they're out, they jam.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in an indie rock band, how the fuck do you jam? What do you? I mean,
Yeah.
what do you jam on?
exactly.
It's just a different vibe, you know. So Tulsa's got a pretty unique space. I don't know anywhere in Seattle where you do that. And if you do, it's, you know, fusiony, like rock dudes just showing off. This is like people grooving, man.
Yeah.
It's a whole different scene.
How many times throughout your career have you had someone ask you to play Satisfied at their wedding?
At the wedding?
Yeah.
I didn't even see that.
Oh man, I just think about. Sometimes I close my eyes and think how many people got it onto that song. It makes me feel good.
Yeah.
A lot of babies born to that song. I'm no Marvin Gaye, but I'm hanging tough. Right on. New Kids on the Block style.
You got one mark on the side of the
Yeah.
band.
You know. Yeah, I mean, I love that. People, it's funny because every now for a while people are like, oh man, I know you hate to play that song, but I'm like, no, I don't hate to play it. For a period of time, there were a bunch of assholes that would go, hey, play that song, and I'm like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
If somebody goes, hey man, me and my wife, like there's a dude that's going to come to Chicago. It's like I proposed to my wife, and he's like, would you play it? I'm like, fuck, dude, of course, I'd be honored to play that. It's more like some people just yell at you and expect you to do it because they yelled at you, and it's like,
Didn't we have a guy propose to a girl at Wormy Dog a couple times ago?
yeah.
Yeah, remember that? Yeah, we did
I
that.
saw them last time, and they've been,
They're happy,
yeah.
making babies.
All right.
I love it, man. You know, and then, I mean, same deal on a heavier note, but like with today, I mean, you know, a lot of people, like, you know, oh, buried my dad, buried my mom, or my friend, and today, I mean, any song where you have some weight to the song, that it matters in people's lives, or when people say, I heard this song, and it got me through a really dark time, or that's why you make music, man. I mean, you know, hits are great, but fuck, that's heavy, man. You know, that's
Really touching somebody's life.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's the trick.
making a difference.
As the newest guy, what are your favorite songs to play?
Oh, man. I don't know. well, everyone knows I was a big Searles guy, so I like.
Searles was a drummer that played in late '90s.
Okay.
Yeah, so I like all that stuff. I like all of it. I've been having fun playing Muddy Jesus a lot.
He's the first drummer that could play it since Viegas. And that's the first drummer.
All those parts on that record are great. I don't know. It's tough to pick one. I really liked. I had a lot of fun. I like I'm a Ram a lot, but that's like kind of my bag too. It's all that soul stuff is really my trip. So, I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, tough to pick.
My guitar. We have a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, that's
one out.
probably like the rhythm section. Like
Which one?
Anchor
Me
Me
and
and
my
My
guitar.
Guitar.
Yeah, that one's
Freddie
pretty
King.
badass.
It's hard to
We
beat
get pretty
Freddie
funky
King.
with that,
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah.
the dynamic breakdown.
Yeah.
It's good. It's tough on the old right hand, though.
Yeah. Yeah, riding that ride.
Mhm.
Riding that high.
Yeah.
As I'm a Ram, did that become a setlist staple? Kind of.
Well, it is. We kind of pulled that in probably about mid-tour because we were doing a set and we were playing a bunch of tunes that are going to be on the new record. And then now we don't know when the record's coming out, so we kind of put that in because it's a badass song and it's fun to play. And
Yeah.
so we're kind of like, right now we're probably jammier than this band and definitely than anything I've done in a long time. But I think the difference, not that I don't like a jam band, but jam bands typically do jam because they don't have any songs. I like to think that we have some pretty good songs to kind of, whenever it starts to get like, oh shit, they're just like groove, rhythm,
Yeah.
then we can throw in a nice, a song with, harmonies and arrangement
It's
in the
also
middle
kind
of
of
it.
the most covers we've ever done.
Yeah.
Since I've been in the band, I can think of 5 right off the top of my head that we're doing.
Yeah.
And that's really fun, too, just getting out there.
Yeah, the Neville tune's killer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's 6. Shit.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, we're playing a lot of covers right now, which is a trip. But they're we're also kind of moving, and it's setting up kind of where we are, and like this. It's always a transition. Like when Matt first started playing with me, we were in a really different headspace, and there was like first we started, and it was almost like power pop, and then we got more, and then later we started moving into this heavier stuff, with lots of harmonies and stuff. And then the newer stuff's a lot of soul music, and so now it's a trip, man. We're kind of like this weird mongrel band. I've never heard a band do what we do right now, because it's a weird mix of like pretty jammy, groovy stuff, but then with like serious fucking arranged songs.
Yeah.
And so typically you get either the one band that does that or the jam band that does that, and they don't mix typically. It's
Yeah.
we're pushing a lot of different things in the set.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's a really good mix. I think the flow of the show is pretty happening.
Yeah, and that's important too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You kind of alluded to it earlier, but I'm sure you're way past it now. But the points where your sound kind of shifted, did you have a lot of weird crowd reactions?
Yeah, but I mean,
people are just expecting the first album or whatever.
The thing that's funny though, when you're in the skin looking at it, my sound shifted from the very first second I played music. Like if I sat here and did a little thing with all the different things, it was non-stop changing.
Yeah.
I mean, when I very first started, I was like a rockabilly player, and then I was kind of getting into blues. But my first band, but even before we made a record, we were like super trippy. Like we would go and like make weird noises for 20 minutes, like wick bark, wick bark, because we were just trippy kids, doing like, it was really psychedelic. And then like when the first record came out, that was the thing. When I put out Modern Day Folklore, dude, that was probably the biggest change ever in my career from my first record, Modern Day, because we went from like this kind of soul blues thing to this really heavy riff rock, psychedelic rock. And then the third record's like a soul record, straight up. And then, so for me, like it's all just, I've always gone like that. It's just people perceive stuff from the outside. Like when I started, the biggest thing was, for a little while, I was just trying to do my thing. And then I realized, I have these moments where I think I understand the way the rest of the world thinks for a minute. Right? Most of the time I don't. I really don't. I don't understand. Like, people are so fucking straight in the world, and I was brought up by weird people, so I don't understand the way a lot of people think. But I had this moment where I realized, I'm like, shit, if I don't put down my electric guitar, people are never, ever going to let me do anything. I'm just going to be this dude, and everyone's going to be mad. So I'm like, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make a shift, and people are going to go, that's when you changed. But it was really just more like kind of going, hey, guys, I'm changing. You know, to kind of alert everybody so people could either get on the bus or get off for a minute.
Yeah.
And it worked. It helped. But, yeah, I mean, we're all changing. And anybody that makes music that isn't changing all the time, in my opinion, is kind of full of shit, because the world's changing. You're spinning every day. And politics are changing. Governments are changing. Feelings are changing. Spirits are changing. People are dying and living. You keep making the same record. That's, to me, pretty jive.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Well, you know, and I mean, I like acts that do that. You know, it just if anything else, it just pisses everybody else off. And you know, I mean, that's a little crazy, but I mean, I like the shaking things up aspect of all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at the way David Bowie did it. I mean,
Yeah.
He was the king of it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
He was the
mean,
king.
and that, I mean, really, that's how you stay current and making art that's vital, and you know, you keep yourself fresh that way too. You can't just lean on a shtick.
Plus, you got to dig what you're doing. If you do the same shit, you start to get bored with it as players, and then your set gets real stale.
Yeah.
And then people can tell, man. I mean, you can tell when you see a band and they're psyched,
Yeah.
or you
Yeah.
see a bunch of dudes and they're really good, but they're boring. I mean, it's like some people don't care. It's weird, man. It's a weird time right now. You know, there are a lot of people actually don't give a shit right now. They'd rather go see the Eagles, who hate each other and sing their songs and not give a fuck and just go, we're making the money, and they're happy to see that.
Yeah.
I don't like that, man. You know, I can feel that energy, and it bums me out. I'd rather see a band that's
Alive.
psyched.
Yeah.
Easy, T.
Hey, man. I'm fine.
Well, you got anything else?
That wraps it up.
Go.
Works through everything.
I don't know, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I'd shake your hand, but now I'm scared to shake it because I don't want to get whatever you got.
There you go, Ian Moore and the Lossy Coils. Thanks again for all four of them for taking the time before their show, sat down to talk to us. Quite an honor. It's always a privilege to be able to talk to any musician, but especially ones that you absolutely love their music.
Yeah, guys that you've dug since you were in high school. you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for Ian Moore for making that happen. We appreciate the fact that him and the whole band did that. Like Jason said earlier, if you're just someone who hasn't really ever delved into his catalog, do it. You know, there's nowhere that you need to start. You know, just pick up the first album you can.
Yeah, pick one. It's going to be great.
Yeah, they're all going to be a little different, and they're all going to be excellent. Well, thethunderunderground.com has all our 61 other podcasts on there. They're on soundcloud.com/thunder-underground. Like we said, we've got a bunch of rock and roll guys, and we've got a bunch of heavy metal guys, so pull it up. We've got Shooter Jennings.
Yeah.
That was pretty amazing as well. And we've got t-shirts for sale. We've got koozies for sale. Coming up here in the next week or so, we're going to have a preview of Rocklahoma. We always make the trek out there every year to enjoy the festivities for a few days.
Oh, yeah.
We've got our friend Kevin Graham, who is also an avid Rocklahoma and rock and roll heavy metal fan. He's going to be talking with us, and we're just going to give like a preview of, you know, the bands we want to see and the bands we don't want to see, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be ready for it.
And we're going to be, you know, we've got plans to record several episodes while we're out there. So coming into June and July, we should be pretty heavy with some cool stuff for you.
Yeah, I think we'll be pretty stacked up.
Yeah.
Good place to be.
Yep. Till next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.